I'm Chris at Corbin Custom Works, and in this video, we're going to go over the installation of the dash light wiring for a Can-Am vehicle. Today, we're doing the install in a 2025 Defender. The installation will be the same for most Can-Am vehicles, so just follow along. Tools you'll need for this: 10mm wrench to disconnect the battery, and then also a pick tool to take apart the connector for the cluster. Let's get started. All right, first step will be disconnecting the negative battery terminal from the battery. The battery is located under the passenger seat up front if it's a two-door model, and under the rear seat in a crew cab model. From the driver's seat, first thing I like to do is just cycle the key real quick, just to make sure we drain any remaining power in the system. Then the first step, we'll open our storage compartment behind the instrument cluster. And then to gain access behind here, or to remove it, we'll first depress the top of the dash to allow that to release. And then we have our connector. And first, we'll want to slide the red lock away from the instrument cluster. And this will allow us to be able to depress the locking tab or latch. And we'll kind of have to wiggle. They're kind of stiff because there's a weather steel in there that makes it tough. Then we can remove the cluster from the vehicle. Next, we'll use a pick tool, and we'll have to remove the terminal position assurance lock from the connector. To do that, we'll go in through these windows on the side here, and basically just using the tool, pry it up, working back and forth side to side to work it out. And then we'll remove it, revealing our terminals. And then we'll have to remove these little white plugs from positions 7 and 17. In case you're wondering, these are actually numbered. We have 1 at this end, and if you look really close, there's a 10, 11, and a 20. So 7 spots over, we'll remove that one. From this end, you'll notice there's some little plastic fingers that we use the pick tool to lift away from those plugs. At the same time, I'm going to try and fish those out. See, that one came out nice and easy. And then we'll take 17, which is right below it. Now we'll grab our dash light wires from the kit, and one end is labeled to the instrument cluster. They have the correct terminals for this connector, and it's also noted yellow goes into position 17, green in position 7. And again, counting across, we'll put our green in number 7, and be aware that there is a little, they only go in one way. There's a little notch on the side of the terminal here, or the opening, that's going to match with the little dimple on the terminal. And we'll just slide that in till it locks, and then on the other end, same with this one, line up the little dimple and slide it in. Now the tricky part about these is, of course, once you start wiggling this around, the terminals kind of do whatever they want in there. So we'll do the best we can to get everything lined up as we reinstall this. So it kind of have to try and line these up. And then make sure it snaps in all the way. It's going to be lower than flush when it's locked in properly. And then next step is we'll feed our wiring down to where our control module is. And then now I'm bringing the wires down under the dash here, and I've already disconnected the switch harness from the turn signal control module, just to be sure the turn signal switch harness is labeled, so you know you have the right end. The main wire harness is the same connector, so don't mix those up. And then on the dash light wire harness is labeled. Of course, it's labeled that this will go to the switch harness, which is labeled on the switch harness here at the control module. And this side we're yellow in position 8, green in position 9. And just like the other connector, this does have a notch that the terminals need to line up with on the side, and they'll correspond with the little dimple on the side of the connector, so those can only go in one way. Again, on this connector, it is numbered. We have a 1 up here by the black, 6 by the gray, 7 by light green, and then 12 at this end. It's labeled for the yellow in position 8, and then the green wire will go in position 9. We'll start with the yellow wire and line up our notch and dimple on the terminal, and that'll go in till it stops. And you'll notice that when it's in all the way, it'll be the same depth as the other terminals. And now the green wire in 9, all the way in. And again, check that it's all the way locked in there. And then now we'll plug this back to the turn signal control module. Then we'll return back up to the top here, and we'll grab our instrument cluster, and we'll align our notches at the bottom and plug it back into the back all the way, and press our tab back down, and it just simply rotates back and locks in, and we can close our top there, and then we'll reconnect the battery and then test it out. All right, back here at the battery, we'll reconnect the negative terminal. This one had some little locking washers on it on the top and bottom. Okay, now we'll turn on the ignition and confirm that everything's working properly. Looks like we got a right arrow with the right turn signal and left with the left, so we did everything correctly. All right, some of the common issues you may experience when doing this installation is the turn signals on the instrument cluster could be backwards from the switch or what the vehicle is doing. In that case, it means you probably put a wire that swap the 2 wires during the installation, which will be as easy as depinning and swapping those 2 wires around. If you do need to do that, reach out to us. We can get you some instructions on how to do the depinning on that. The second main issue we see is if you go to turn on the key and there's nothing, you may have blown the key switch fuse, which is going to be in the fuse box next to the battery. And we'll open the cover here, and the key switch fuse is this one right here, the 10 amp. And then I guess I can give you a little tip. This cover looks like you can't see what's there, but there's a little thing on here, and then that'll reveal everything. So you can see key switch fuse F8, which is there. This concludes our video on the installation of the dash light wiring for Can-Am models. If you have any questions or problems, please reach out to us by phone or email, and check us out on our website, CorbinCustomWorks.com. Thank you.